What is up? What's up, JC?
How you doing, man?
Doing great. Ready to kick off our first algorithm of the year. We've been talking a lot over the break, and obviously to kick off the year, had a lot of work to kick it off as well. And I myself am on the health tip on the health journey. I know we've been talking about some things like supplements and workout regimen and all the things going on in the world of health and wellness. And this is really right up your alley. Today's episode is really going to be focused on the health trend and the wellness trend. And it's really not a trend anymore. It's kind of like this behavioral shift and a movement that you really can't ignore anymore. So I'll let you take it away and kind of chime in on what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, man. Excited. It's our first podcast of the 2026, so that's really cool. We started, I think, a little bit after mid-year last year with the algorithm. So this is really exciting, starting the year on the right track and with a nice little cadence of our show. So yeah, I'm super excited with today's episode, or really like what we're going to be focusing on here early 2026 and in January and February, which is not like you said, not necessarily any new health trends per se, but more just the shift in the behavioral aspects of consumers across the board when it comes to supplementation, when it comes to functional foods, when it comes to strength training and working out. I already have notes for our next episode, and talking about like third spaces and wellness spaces and the pop-ups of those. So I think today's episode is going to be really geared towards more of the behavioral part of things, more of the supplementation and the functional foods part of things. And again, everybody's kind of kicking off the year, new me. Anybody in the space knows that this time of the year are the biggest months. It's the biggest quarter for any company, brand in this space. The trends. I'm sure the Google searches are up 100%. I'm sure everything is up right now. People are in the middle of packing their orders because I'm sure there's an onslaught of new orders coming in, new clients. So really exciting, and also just exciting that I think you and I have shared a lot of text messages earlier this year. You're getting back into the rhythm, into the fold, working out. I've been at it as well for a while now, and it's really cool to just talk about it. I think that it's one of the things that I've learned in my personal journey is to not start the year off hot, is to go into the year hot. So like start your routines, start your habits, and start your rhythm earlier on, like before the year, so that you get a really good head start into the new year. So excited to jump into everything that's new in the industry.
For sure. We got the rundown here, kind of like breaking down, everything that we're going to be covering today. And really the big points are like, there's the undeniable reality of GLP-1s kind of taking over, and how they've changed behaviors, not just like people's bodies and losing weight. We'll talk about the new food pyramid that the FDA launched, and kind of like the shift in what it means to the market, as well as just other supplements and protein and functional foods that you're seeing come up in CPG, come up in different food items, as well as wrapping up with the aspect of alcohol and how we're seeing that slow and steady decline, and just it's no longer kind of like what it was in the past. And we'll wrap it up finally with the 2026 predictions. It's something that I kind of like put together, and we talked about really looking forward to this year and what we're going to see happen in the market, in technology, in business, and marketing in general. So we'll kick it off here with the GLP-1s, and JC, I'll let you kick this one off.
Yeah, this is a really great subject to kick off with, because it is the most controversial and probably the hottest ticket on the item right now, going into health and going into wellness in 2026. Although GLP-1s have been around now for several years, I think 2025 was probably its glow up year. Definitely because of the onset of the second and third generation of GLP-1s, which is the Zepbounds, the Wegovys, the Manjaros, and the reticulocyte. Those things kind of change the game. Ozempic is really widely considered kind of like that first generation, but really like the newer generation here in 2025. I think starting off with the basics, really, like what is GLP-1 and what does it do? So GLP-1 really are these medications that mimic a natural gut hormone, which is the GLP-1. And really where they shine for most people is the regulation of appetite and blood sugar, right? The most important part there is obviously just like the regulation of appetite is just you're going to eat less. Everybody knows, I think, like it is not really a controversial statement anymore, which is like you eat less and you take in less calories and you burn out. You're going to lose weight. Like it's just simple. It's simple math. And obviously with our current diet and our current structure as Americans, really worldwide, because obesity is, yes, hyper kind of focused and highlighted in the United States, but really it's a worldwide issue. That is a game changer. Like if you can help people that can't regulate themselves, in a lot of ways, we're at fault, but in a lot of ways, like the industry is at fault. Like the foods that we eat are highly palatable, are incredibly binge. You can binge on them very easily. So, a lot of it is just us as humans kind of losing that knack to stop when we're full, or whatever the case may be. But a lot of it is the foods that we're intaking are just, they're made for that. They're literally engineered for that. So, for us to be able to have something, like I said, GLP-1 that regulates appetite at the top of its benefits, that's where it really shines. And then obviously blood sugar satiety, we were talking about how hard that word is, satiety. And then, like I said, helping people, feel full for longer. So it really, one of the things it does too, which people don't realize, is that it slows down your digestion. So therefore you feel full for longer. So therefore you're not snacking, you're not binge eating and stuff like that. You eat a meal and you feel full for a long time. So again, going back to kind of like the caloric intake and reducing the caloric intake. Again, reducing the cravings, and then and also reduction in the alcohol consumption, right? So like if you're regulating blood sugar, you're probably dealing with anxiety and stress a little bit better. Therefore, you're probably not going to choose to, go for the bottle that night or whatever the case may be, or a drink. So that does help for sure in the long-term aspects of this. So look, it's changing the game. It is. It's here. I think, like I said, we're in that second, third generation of the GLP-1s. And I think now the science, and if you scroll down a little bit, that I put a post there from Peter Attia, which is a doctor that I respect highly in this field. He is tested, tried and true, and really what he says is gospel. He really focuses on this, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but essentially, if you scroll through and if you we'll put a link in the bio when we post and whatnot. Essentially, he says here is like a couple years ago when they started to test and study the GLP-1s, they noticed obviously right off the bat that it was just it was helping with waist circumference and it was helping with weight loss, right? And there was some signs of like cardiovascular help, but they felt that was that cardiovascular, or what they call MACE, the reduction of MACE, right, which is major adverse cardiovascular events, which is basically your risk of having a heart attack, your risk of having any type of cardiovascular event. They felt that was directly attached to the weight loss. And as he goes through here very eloquently, and what I love about Peter Attia was like, I was fucking wrong. And I love the fact that we were wrong. That's the beauty about science. He's like, what we're showing now with the research that's coming out is that GLP-1s, especially the second and third generation, yes, they have a weight loss component. Yes, they are reducing caloric intake, etc. But really, like kind of separate from that, a completely separate positivity and outcome here is cardiovascular health and an improvement in cardiovascular health. So that's not in conjunction. What he's saying here is not necessarily in conjunction with just a weight loss. It is actually a side effect, a positive side effect of GLP-1 and of the drug, outside of obviously blood sugar regulation, which again, all of that goes into into all that is connected in some way, but they're finding that it's completely separate. So so much respect to Peter Attia for coming out with posts like this and coming out with information like this, because I love the fact that, like, especially in science, like, you know, science is always evolving and you're finding new things and there's new evidence and there's new technologies. And for him to come out and be like, look, this is what we thought, but actually it's even much more, it's better than what we thought. And there's other aspects to this is huge. And the change in consumption, which we always talk about, right? Like you have a big, and we'll talk about it a little bit lower in the future here as we go through, but like the onset now of like the push with protein, and the onset now with the push of the fiber, you know, fiber products, etc. All of these things are really changing the market and changing our behavior and changing the consumer habits. And I think it's imperative that brands are in this space are highly in tuned with GLP-1, highly in tuned with the new gen of GLP-1s that are coming out. Because if you are not in the supplement space, if you're not in the functional food space, and you are not taking this into consideration, you're going to lose, because this is becoming standard, and GLP-1 is becoming standard. And like I said, a lot very similarly to metformin years ago, where it was found through studies that metformin also had some sort of cardiovascular benefits, and metformin had some longevity benefits as well. GLP-1 is proving the same. And I am not a pharma pusher. I have my quorums with pharma. I'm in the nutraceutical space. I love natural remedies to our issues. I'm a big proponent of that. But proper pharmaceuticals done right can be game changers. It has improved our longevity as humans. Like, there's so many aspects to pharmaceuticals that have helped us as humans. And I think that in 20 years, I hope we can go back to this podcast, because this is a game changer, a complete game changer. And again, going into 2026, I think GLP-1s, because of second and third gen GLP-1 and the onsets of those, GLP-1 had a glow up, and for very good reasons. It had to glow up because it's here to stay, and it's helping out people that not necessarily can do it on their own, or that are just in need of a boost, and in need of something that is going to help them get out of a rut. And I think that more now than ever, especially because things are engineered for us to be fat and engineered for us to be overweight and eat more and consume more, this drug is a complete curveball to that, and I love it. I was not a huge proponent of GLP-1s when they came out a couple years ago, for very good reasons, because the studies weren't great. There was a lot of side effects. There was a lot of liver side effects. There was a lot of gut side effects, microbiome side effects, negative side effects. And but again, second and third gen GLP-1s have changed the game for me, and what they mean to the market. So. I lay it up for you, man. I went on a little rant there. I apologize.
Yeah, for sure. Are there any slides in this that you want me to highlight? I know that he kind of like goes through it here, and breaks down like the findings of the report, but I don't know if there was any specific slide here that you wanted me to stop on, so that
one of them is the one that he talks about MACE, because I think that's an interesting one. I think it's like the second or third slide. He talks about MACE. Here. So although findings fueled even greater excitement over the seemingly limitless therapeutic uses for GLP-1 drugs, in our subsequent commentary, we propose that a reduction in MACE, which again is major adverse cardiovascular events, with semaglutide was likely due to the weight loss, right? So here he is stating, we believed that the reduction in cardiovascular events while taking GLP-1s was 100% linked to the weight loss, right? They were losing weight, they were getting healthier, their cardiovascular was improving. And if you move forward in the subsequent slides, really like the last one, I believe, or the second to last one, that's where he says, like, we are so happy to be wrong on this. I think it's these results indicate, there you go, that the body composition changes on semaglutide may enhance cardiovascular benefits among weight loss or obese patients, but they do not fully account for the cardiovascular events. So here, their findings are basically showing that essentially they are not linked at all.
Gotcha.
Again, which is huge. Again, they are linked. Sorry, I misspeak there. They are linked. But they're not super separately linked. Like they're both benefiting on different scales. And I think also importantly is at the end of before that, he says here, he's like, basically, we couldn't be more pleased to be proven wrong, and which is awesome. Again, more reasons why I love Peter Attia. And then this one is very specifically is essentially this. So this is Lane Norton, another guy that I highly respect in the market. We want to play the clip, but he goes into like what GLP-1 doesn't teach you, and then he has a great
GLP-1s don't teach you. When it comes to GLP-1s, by all metrics, they are the most effective weight loss tools that we've ever seen. In research studies, you see up to like 20% of body weight loss on average with things like tirzepatide, which is a GLP-1 GIP mimetic combo. And not only that, we're seeing evidence that GLP-1 mimetics may even help with just like addictive and impulsive behaviors overall. But
so the combo is very specific what he's talking about. That's the second and third gen GLP-1. So Ozempic was really just the mimicking of the GLP-1, whereas the newer generations, and that's where the cardiovascular kind of benefits come in through whatever, obviously they're just more advanced. It's essentially like, the first iPhone is not the same as the second, third, fourth gen iPhone. It's the same concept.
Yeah. Okay. You want me to keep playing it?
No, you're good. Those are great points. Yeah, we can continue.
For sure.
So basically, like, I riff here on what does that mean? What does that mean to the market? What does that mean to brands? What does that mean to the D2C space and consumer goods space? Essentially, what we already know, protein is having a moment. It's going to continue to have a moment. That science is also very simple. If you're taking in less calories, protein has calories, you're going to be taking in less protein. And what is happening and what ends up happening is, and this was very prevalent with, again, Ozempic, whereas you see that Ozempic face, you see that Ozempic body where people literally look like they were shrinking. Well, that is because people were taking in less calories. They weren't working out. They were losing muscle because, yes, when you lose weight this quickly, the side effect, if you don't take in enough protein, if you don't take enough creatine, if you don't work out, is you're going to lose muscle. The body is going to pull from your fat and your muscle, and you're going to lose muscle. So protein is having a moment. It'll continue to have a moment. Protein right now, if you're in the protein market, you're printing money. You're having a moment, and I think again, that's a huge deal, and people should be hyper focused on that. Same thing with fiber. I think brands in the fiber space, we're working on right now together on a fiber brand. Fiber in this space, if you're in this space right now, you're going to have a moment here in the next couple of years. Because people, again, if you are taking in less calories, and if you're more satiated, if you're good, you don't want to eat more, you're going to take in less fiber. And that is not necessarily good for your gut health. It's not necessarily good for your overall health. So you're going to have to supplement somehow. So fiber products also will have a win here this year, and that's 100% going to be the causation for that. And then the last really point that I have here is GLP-1 is here to stay. Whoever is doubting that, you're off the rocker. It's like that video we saw about the credit card guy, the guy at Burger King saying credit cards weren't here to stay. If GLP-1s are here to stay, and you're going to see very similarly to like the iPhone or whatever the case may be, you're going to have second, third, fourth gen, fifth gen. They're going to get better. They're going to get more efficient. They're going to have 2, 3 different components that are going to help you with your weight loss. And I think what people need to realize is it's not just a weight loss drug anymore. It's not that. Yes, it is a weight loss drug at the forefront, but there are so many different components to this that make it an incredible product, an incredible tool for a lot of people. And I really truly have a lot of hope that this is going to help curb the along with other things that we're going to talk about right there. That's point number 2, the new food pyramid. It's going to help curb the massive obesity issue that we have in this country and help really change behavior. So,
yeah, and I think it segues really well into this, new announcement by the USDA, and really, it was kind of interesting to see this come out, and you felt like, why wasn't this done sooner? And kind of like flipping it on its head and saying like, hey, you shouldn't be taking that many grains and carbs and all that stuff. You should actually reduce that and take more proteins and take more veggies and things of that sort that feel way more in line with what you should be taking from a nutrition standpoint and what's going to help you in the long form. So they updated the pretty much all the new guidelines on diet for the American public. And it's something that for decades, they definitely felt that there was a favoring of corporate interests, and it didn't really make sense, common sense. There wasn't too much science behind it. Like the fact that you're telling people, and we have the other one. So I think we could kind of like go through not just the new pyramid, right? We have a video here, but I mean, I think this is more important. Like this is what it used to be. This is insane. When I pulled this up today, the fact that we looked at this as children or young people,
and we thought this was good.
Yeah, we thought this was fine. Like 6 to 11 servings of bread, cereal, rice, and pasta group.
Wow.
What is that? That's
wild.
Insanity. So the fact that this wasn't done sooner is what bothers me the most. I mean, at least there was veggies and fruits there, but like for meat, poultry, like the proteins to be basically just like the second lowest amount you should be taking is also kind of messed up. So it is it's shocking to see that this was going on for this long, and it's about time that there's more common sense being applied to the food pyramid and the guidelines that Americans should be following for what they're consuming on a daily basis. So
look, I have been a proponent of this for a long time. I've just my day to day, I do better on a low carb diet. I do better on a more natural animal protein style diet. Still getting fruits and vegetables, although my wife would argue that I don't get enough fruits and vegetables, but that's another topic for another day. I'm a meat eater. I love meat. I can have steak for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And now, especially since I'm fasting, like I don't really crave. I've been able to regulate my blood sugar really well, and I don't really crave breads and pastas and different things. Although I've never been a pasta eater, but I've been clamoring for this for a long time. The carnivore keto world has been clamoring for this for a long time. Although there's a lot of issues with that demographic as well, but. I think this is a great thing. Obviously, having the majority of your diet coming from whole grains and from sugars is not good. Any doctor that has at least some sort of nutrition basis to them would tell you that. I think it speaks to the fact that we're in this position as a country and as a world with the obesity issues that we have, outside of many issues like we just discussed with. The foods being highly palatable and foods being literally engineered so that we consume more. I think we have lost our way in how we eat. I'm not saying that this is the end all be all, because within this there is things that we don't talk about, which is caloric intake, and there's a lot of things that are missing. But this is a great start, and you can't. It's not going to be from where we were at. To have this, to me, is light years a separation, and I'm really happy that this administration did this. I'm really happy that RFK did this. I don't necessarily love every single thing that he's done, but I really do love this, and I am 100% behind this. I think this is brilliant. I think this will change behavior. just like the last food pyramid changed behavior, this will change behavior. And nobody that has the proper information in front of them will tell you that a diet that consists of higher protein, healthier fats, and healthier protein sources, and less carbohydrates and less sugar is a bad thing. Nobody will tell you that, and nobody should, unless they're, and somebody has them in their pocket, which is essentially, an argument for why we had the original food pyramid, like you said. So everybody that I respect in the industry, the Peter Attias, and everybody is for something like this. Again, this has to be, there is nuance in everything, and we have to take into consideration a lot of the points here, like I said, which is the caloric intake, the movement, which the administration is behind. But I think that this is not the end all be all, but this is a great freaking start, man.
Yeah.
And if you want to play the video, is Price Plow. So this guy on the video, he's specifically in the supplement space. He has a really good podcast and a really good Instagram. He focuses highly on supplementation, but he has a great video here about the food pyramid.
We are so back. I haven't been this excited to report on a government announcement in a very long time. I feel like I'm getting on here to say, ladies and gentlemen, we got it. RIP to the My Pyramid. The USDA literally just turned the food pyramid upside down. Since 1992, we've prioritized food guidance that looked a lot for processed carbohydrates and minimized any kind of dairy and protein. I don't understand how anyone can oppose this new upside down pyramid that prioritizes whole food sources of protein, healthy fats, vegetables and fruits,
and there,
down to the bottom, some whole grains. Recommending protein targets to mainstream U.S. citizen consumers.
Huge.
Prioritizing high quality, nutrient dense protein from both animal and plant sources. I can't believe I'm reading this from our own government. Don't worry, this isn't some carnivore thing. They also recommend vegetables and fruits at a healthy amount of servings per day. And yes, whole grains. As an athlete, when I talk to athletes, I would talk a little bit differently about this section and carbohydrates in general, but still, whole grains are not omitted. This isn't some carnivore propaganda. I've been really big on fence sitting when it comes to RFK Jr.'s announcements and things that he does. I've explained good things about what he's done. I've explained bad things about what he's done. But this is something that is really exciting to me. As someone who went to college for dietetics, I had to sit with a straight face in classes while obese registered dietitian professors taught us that the old pyramid was good and that focusing on animal proteins was going to destroy your kidneys. There's more to the guidelines overall that I'm going to read through and do more content on as the days go on. But overall, the food pyramid was the most important thing that I thought to report on. They do some, reporting on obesity and diabetes and chronic disease, which I think is some great conversation topics. But if you need me for the next week, this is going to be me, not the smoking. Cover that up. But I'm just so happy that we've done away with this food pyramid.
Good. Yeah.
This guy's great. He's been amazing in the supplement space, but I agree. I actually took a whole year on nutrition and dietetics as I bounced around what the hell I wanted to study in college. And nutrition and dietetics was, I took it for, basically that was my major for a whole year. And I agree. I sat through that. And again, as an athlete, he brings up a great point. Anybody will sit there and point fingers well, athletes have processed or whole grains and sugars and carbohydrates. Yeah. Athletes, they burn their metabolic rate of burning carbohydrates or burning calories is insanely high. They're going through calories left and right. So to me, there has to be nuance in these conversations, and I love the way that he approached it. I put some social signals here. As to how this is being represented in the market, how this is being represented in the content that we see. So I put up, some graphics there. I did a little AI thing on Instagram to look up the 30 grams of protein breakfast ideas, but that's a huge kind of viral little content piece that's going around now that influencers and content creators are producing, which I love. That's really cool. Functional snacks are leading with protein grams on the packaging now, so you're seeing that even not functional snacks. I went to Publix the other day, and all the waffles, all the pancakes, everybody's leading with protein now. It's the main thing. So you're seeing that in a trend that's changing. And consumer halls are organized now by protein, not calories. Which again, I would, not every trend has perfection throughout it. I think like I want to be hyper aware of the caloric intake part of things and the science being the science. But yeah, these are kind of the trends that we're seeing. And then what does this all mean really? Like animal protein will be the new craze. And will be the new crave. I think everybody is going to be diving into that. The carnivore industry is going to have another moment now, and really shoot out in the beginning of this year now. Protein. Like I said, I think dairy will have a glow up as well in 2026. I think dairy had a couple years there that was everybody was shunning on dairy, but especially with the onset of like Fairlife and the triple filtration and all this type of stuff that has higher protein, lower sugar, those brands are something to look out for, and other brands that are going to get into the space. And then fast food, how this is going to kind of change the game for fast food, for snacks. I think I put some pictures lower there, but yesterday I ordered from Chipotle and they have like the little, I think it's like 35 grams of protein, 37 grams of protein, little mini bowls that you can add to your chicken bowl. So those are things coming out. We had talked about last year, the Starbucks protein that came out, and then this ridiculousness of Cheerios having protein on the label. But these are the things that you're going to see now because brands are going to get behind it. As a consumer, you have to be hyper aware and you have to be educated. One of the beautiful parts, I think this is really good actually. I kind of like this trend. So these are the new Dorito Naked. So basically it's like it's Doritos and it's their chips, but it strips it of the artificial colors and all of the dyes and different things like that, and just kind of like just straight natural flavors and whatnot. So again, not perfect, but definitely a great trend and definitely healthier option for people. Less calories, healthier option. So again, I overall love the trend. As a consumer, you need to be hyper aware. As a brand, you need to be organic and authentic, and you need to be real. Don't bullshit. People will catch you on your bullshit, especially if you're a smaller brand. A lot of these big brands can get away with shadiness, is the best way to say it, in their branding. But as a smaller brand, you cannot. So you have to be real. You have to stand behind your supplement facts. You have to make sure that you're third-party testing. But yeah, overall, I love this trend. I love the new model. I love the new guidelines. And I think it's a positive. It's a home run.
Yeah. And I mean, the biggest thing is that it's almost like this isn't nothing new in the sense that the information that you should be taking more protein and all this stuff. Like if you started working out at any point in your life and spoke or studied with a nutritionist, they would tell you this. Like it's simple. Back then it would be like, oh, you take your macros and this and that. And like, I know that there's counter arguments on how to approach it from that perspective now. But this to me is just like common sense entering the conversation when it comes to nutrition, and products will have to adapt to it. I think one thing that I'm curious to see how it plays out is how, the concept of the new food pyramid. I know that there's always like, people trying to tack on through a trend and call it something like, oh, this is keto friendly, this is whatever. Like, will we see packaging or messaging that says like new food pyramid approved, or like NFP certified, or like some other kind of BS marketing that will then try and greenwash it? I expect to see some of that like work its way into the branding and marketing on the packaging and all that. So it's always funny to see how people just like we said, this is a gold rush for health, and then there's going to be like the people that are smart and do it authentically, and then there's going to be the people who are just going to try and tack on to the bandwagon and push a narrative and just join it because it's what's hot right now, but they really don't care for like true nutrition. So it's always interesting to study these trends and see where different players.
I think as a consumer, to kind of tie a bow on this, I think as a consumer, you just nailed it. You have to be very hyper aware at claims that brands will put on their branding and on their ads specifically, because brands can get away with a lot of stuff that they put on the ads and on their socials that may not necessarily show up on their packaging because of FDA regulations and stuff like that. But they can get away with it on ads, and they can get away with it on socials. So just be hyper aware of that. And yeah, look, when keto was a trend, you had the keto friendly thing tagged on literally every product, and there was a lot of products that go through the supermarket. I'm like, this is not keto friendly. This is not keto friendly. This is not keto friendly. So just because it says keto friendly, or just because it says, new food pyramid approved, or whatever the case may be, doesn't mean that it is. And then kind of last point on that is, if you are a parent right now, I'm a parent of an almost 5-year-old. You should be insanely happy with this. You should be very, very excited at this new guideline. You don't understand how much that influences school lunches and how much that influences the food that our children get fed in school. Most school lunches, or all school lunches, have to abide by the food pyramid and the guidelines and whatnot. So this is a huge plus in teaching our children proper way of eating and proper nutrition. So I'm a big proponent of it, and as a parent, you should be too.
For sure. And kind of jumping into the next topic, as we talk about protein, as we talk about just supplements, nutrition, and functional foods, kind of like this portion of it is really, talking about functional foods. It's not really going to replace the supplements. It's just going to be more prominent. It's going to be something that you do as part of your daily behavior. And then obviously you can still have your supplements to add on to it. It should not be that you're just taking supplements and hoping that that's the cure-all, the solution to making sure you get all your nutrients. Like, we're seeing it protein, fiber, creatine, magnesium, electrolyte, all this stuff. We're seeing it show up across different products in the market. And, it's being received much differently than it was before. It's no longer like a niche thing. It seems like it's becoming more mainstream. So we have a video here that we can play. And JC, you tell me if there's a moment to stop and you want me to chime in.
Creatine has been around for, ever. In my mind, it was like one of those gym bro things. I don't need to be swole. And then over the last 5 years or so, the effects of creatine on the brain started to really get my interest. It can increase muscle mass. It can increase muscle strength in combination with resistance training, because you're able to regenerate and make energy faster. What are the effects on the brain? It turns out if you can give your brain more of that creatine, particularly under a period of anything that's causing stress, that's where creatine shines in the brain. 5 grams a day, your muscles are greedily consuming it, particularly if you're working out. Anything above that kind of spills over to the brain. 10 grams of creatine increased creatine levels in several different regions of the brain. If you supplement with 10 grams of creatine, or even go higher than that, like 20 grams of creatine, it's been found that if you take someone and you sleep deprive them for 21 hours and give them about 25 to 30 grams of creatine, it completely negates the cognitive deficits of sleep deprivation. Actually, not only does it negate the cognitive deficits of sleep deprivation, it makes people function better than if they were well rested. That's where I was like, wait a minute. Well, I will say, even at the 10 grams, for me, I don't feel that mid-afternoon crash when I have the creatine. So I've been a big fan of the creatine, not only for the muscle, especially because, working out is something that's very important, but for the brain as well.
So if you scroll down a little bit, and I'll riff on this a little bit, but if you scroll down a little bit, I put some kind of points here on why these categories are exploding, specifically functional foods, supplements, and really supplementation. But point number 3 here, health literacy, moved from institution to creators. To me, yeah, thank you for highlighting it. To me, that's one of the biggest kind of game changers and factors in all of this. Because what ends up happening here is, in that video right there, right? I remember being in high school, and I remember creatine being a thing in high school. And I remember exactly what she was saying. The narrative being that it was a gym bro thing, that if you take too much creatine, it can negatively affect your liver. Just so many things. I remember when Alonzo Mourning had his liver issues, I remember a lot of people were like, oh, because he takes too much protein and creatine. And it was like all these all these rumors and whatnot. And I think what ends up happening, if you could kind of swift through the bullshit on creator content, especially in this space, and if you attach yourself and you hone in on like the 5, 10, 15 like morally correct creators that are either doctors or have been in the space for a long time, like I said, the Peter Attias, Rhonda as well, she's one of those, Huberman. If you can attach yourself to those and take in their content, your knowledge just by listening to them of what's true, what's fact, what's not, is light years away from anything that we were able to get 30, 40, 50 years ago, even 10 years ago. Okay. Yeah. And to me, that's the biggest game changer, because everything that she said is true and is gospel. Because everything's, then everything that she talks about is usually highly tested. There's a lot of research that goes into it. She's a big sauna proponent. She has been for years, and she's having her glow up now because now everybody's into sauna. And she's like, see, I've been freaking saying it for years. But to me, that's the biggest game changer in all of this, and why this category is exploding for a very good reason. It's because of this, because the literacy in the common folk, right, that doesn't necessarily take I'm a little bit different because this has been my industry for a long time. But anybody like my wife or anybody else that is not necessarily entrenched in this, you can get really good information on a daily basis and on a monthly basis that helps you with your decisions. And I that is one of the biggest reasons why this category is having a glow up and why this category is growing so well. And again, if you can attach yourself to these 5, 10, 15 creators that have a very good moral compass, and they really try to give you the most researched information possible. They're not doing it for the likes. That's a side effect. They're not doing it for the fame. They're doing it because they really do have a passion in this. You're going to be in a very good spot. And that kind of segues into kind of like the next one, which is AI has turned consumers into informed buyers. That combination right there of then being able to go and fact check these people, and then being able to go and research these people. And I was telling you when we were talking about your health journey and whatever, I was telling you, like, I created a custom GPT in Chat GPT, and I basically fed it the information. I gave it those 15, 20 content creators that I follow as kind of North Stars of how, like, I want my health compass to be. And it gives me great information. It fact checks me when I throw something out there. It helps me kind of guide my day-to-day behaviors when it comes to caloric intake, when it comes to what I'm eating, what I'm not eating, etc. And I've really been able to learn my body with those things. So I really, again, I wanted to hyper focus on those two because I think they're incredibly important. Aside from the other stuff that I put there, they're incredibly important on this category and why it's exploding right now.
Yeah. And I personally have recently, I've been taking creatine in the past in different phases of my journey. I stopped I would say a couple of years ago, and then I picked it back up as of like a year and a half as I started seeing the studies come out. And yeah, my first interaction was very much like gym bro focused, like, oh, you're bodybuilding, or you're trying to build muscle, and like you're someone who's just like in that fitness world, not necessarily for the average consumer. And when I started up the gym and I got a trainer, it was part of the regimen, like saying at least 5 grams a day, and then you can take more based on days that you train. And then I personally have used AI to help me research which ones are worth like, and I'm like, give me some that are tested, give me some that are absorbed in your body, that don't have junk, all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, I already had the monohydrate in the powder form. So I'm like, let me try out the gummies. So help me find gummies that A, can be absorbed, and B, are full of a bunch of junk and whatever. And so I bought some, and I'm trying out both now. And it's just interesting to see, like, one thing I didn't expect is that the actual dosage, like the serving size, is much larger for gummies because you have to take more. So it's like 5 gummies per serving essentially, whereas it's just 1 scoop for the powder. So, you know, there's things that you got to learn how to adapt to. And I'm sure as this develops, there might be gummies that are more potent, so you take less and they'll be more packed in there and your body will absorb it. So again, I used AI to do that, Perplexity in particular, to kind of like help me do the research side of it. And I even gave it a guardrail like, hey, I don't want to spend more than X amount of money. So it's very powerful to be able to do that and not just have to like go on Google, scroll through a bunch of links or look through a bunch of videos on YouTube. Like at least this helps you get closer to that answer and become more informed as a consumer.
Yeah, and you know, as of a year ago, 2 years ago, nobody, including myself, was really in tune with like the cognitive benefits that creatine had, right? And that kind of goes to my point is like, you know, these creators have really brought it to the forefront, all this different research and all these things. Same thing with GLP-1 to kind of bring it around is now these creators and these doctors they're coming out and they're saying, hey guys, like in the beginning, yeah, you know, there was a reason to kind of be skeptical, but there's a lot of good research coming out. There's a lot of positive research, and I think that we're at a great point in history with the information that we're able to obtain, and the way that we're able to inform ourselves that previous generations weren't able to do. So yeah, I'm with you, and you know you hit the nail on the head with the gummies. So you know, I'm privy to like the back end kind of manufacturing side of the supplement world, and yeah, that's one of the biggest issues right now with gummies is the amount that you can stick in each gummy, right? So like, you know, you have gummies like Gruns, which you have to take like 6 or 8 gummies. Now they're more of a like kind of a multivitamin superfood, but still that's 8 gummies. Now they've done a great job. They sell it as candy. They sell it as like your, you know, like gummy bears type deal. So it's more of a marketing thing. So kudos to them. But yeah, the delivery system for creatine in the gummy form has been a big hurdle manufacturing wise, because there's a lot of things to take into consideration. The masking agents, right? So like the bitterness, and to create a gummy, there's going to be natural bitterness in those gummies with the components that you put in. So, you know, you have to put the masking agent. You got to make sure that it tastes good. So are you going to use stevia? Are you going to use some form of artificial flavor? Are you going to use something like a sugar, organic sugar, or whatever the case may be? Now, the biggest hurdle there is like you start to add sugar. Now you get away from the bodybuilding industry, or you get away from that gym industry because you don't want to take in that extra sugar. So these are all things that are happening on the back end in the industry. I've always found, and kind of like to put a bow on this part, I've always found with creatine, the simpler the better. I like the powders specifically because you can get powders. I buy Naked Creatine. It's the Naked brand. They literally have everything's branded Naked Creatine, Naked Protein. Their whole thing is like no added no artificial flavors, no added anything. It's like the main thing is the main thing, and their creatine is just straight creatine monohydrate. I get it in the big containers, and I've the big tubs. And just with the information that I'm privy to and that I know, I've always found that just, you know, powders and straight creatine, you shouldn't really screw around with creatine. Creatine is a very simple thing, and obviously brands are going to try to fluff it up, and they're going to try to throw different things in there, and you know that we have a better creatine because the delivery system's a little bit better, or whatever the case may be, and fair enough. And there are brands out there with a little bit higher quality creatine, but creatine is the simpler the better on the delivery system and on the intake. So as you can tell, I love this category.
Yeah, I think that as I test out the gummies side, I think I still will lean on the powders. But I start to think of like, what if there's a day I'm not going to be home, or I'm traveling and it's harder to carry around powder or whatnot? Like, I think it makes sense to have it there as that secondary backup option. And I could see that's where it could fit into the market. Or just average consumers that, you know, prefer the convenience. But in general, yeah, like if you are serious about it, you could take the powder and just mix it into something. And then kind of like switching into the alcohol narrative and really wellness in general and how alcohol fits into it. The key points here are that we've heard it over and over. The younger generations are drinking less. That dry January is becoming more and more normal. You're seeing it on a yearly basis being talked about, and you're seeing this non-alcoholic but also low ABV beverages come out. I've worked on some over the years and gotten really close to understanding that market and how it works. And then, seeing things like GLP-1s and how does it accelerate that whole like reduction in what wanting to drink. Because yeah, if you're already like taking in less and you curb your appetite, like you're not going to feel good drinking alcohol, or at least as much alcohol. So there is that kind of connective thread there. And the last point here being that, you know, fitness and health becoming much more mainstream and becoming a standard is also just affecting the amount, at least, of alcohol. I don't think it's going away completely. I just think that it's just moderation and lower volume.
Yeah. Yeah, all these things I'm obviously are parts of the reason why this is happening. I think the knowledge and the education that we have on the negative effects of drinking alcohol are probably at the forefront of this. I truly believe that. There's just more information out there. The more information that we get, it's probably closer to smoking, honestly, drinking, which, you know, sucks, but it is what it is. Listen, I love drinking. I love a good rum. I love a good tequila. But it is what it is. And the facts are the facts. So, I think that's probably at the forefront of all of this. But I linked a video there. There you go. You have it. I linked a video there from, what is it, Armchair Podcast or something like that. I love this dude. And he talks about that. And I'll let the video speak for itself.
Z's teen pregnancy rate is 78% lower than 91. 31% of millennials drink regularly. Only 18% of Gen Zs drink.
Yep.
A third of Gen Z doesn't even drink. This has never been observed.
Right.
They're completely abstinent.
Right.
They are more frugal than millennials. They are more health conscious. Yes, this obsession with social media and the phone, although may have produced this thing, are we not then going to credit this thing with this huge leap forward this generation's taken? All this promising stuff we know about them. I mean, I know of the anxiety depression figure, but that's to me one metric out of like 6, and they're like thriving in the other departments.
Well, you said they're thriving. That's an interesting phrase.
Improving.
Okay. On a number of metrics, their behavior is better. On a lot of the self-destructive metrics, their behavior is better. That's all true. Now, does that mean they're thriving? Why are they not drinking? Why are they not driving cars? Why are they not dating?
Why aren't they getting pregnant?
Why are they not getting pregnant? Why do you think it is? Because they're so wise? They decided, you know what, these are risky.
Because they're not with other people.
They're not doing anything.
They're not being
if you're just on your bed all day long, scrolling through social media, then you're not going to be doing any of those things.
So I thought that was a great point. Now, I don't want to cast an entire blanket on an entire generation. I don't know enough Gen Zers to say that they're in bed scrolling, but I will say that a lot of them are, that I do know of, and I know that they're doing it a lot more than we were, for sure. Because I know what I was doing in my 20s, and I was not sitting in bed scrolling through my phone. I was out. I was playing college baseball. I was studying. I was going to bars, and I was partying. I was with friends. I was dating. So I know what I was doing, and I know what my friends were doing, and I know what my cousins were doing, and I know what my family was doing, and it was not scrolling through Instagram. So there has to be something to that. I can't put it, I can't put a statistic to it, but there has to be something to that. And I thought that was a great point when I first saw that, because it just makes total sense. And to me, that combination with the fact that we do have more information readily available to us with the health components of it, to me, that just the math's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I do see that trend is generally true, in the sense that, kids are less likely to be outside in their front yard, playing, with their neighbors and like kind of like going outside and being active that way. It seems like more tend to revert to being on their phones or being on some sort of device where they're connected digitally. And I felt like I had the best of both worlds growing up, where I was like outside all the time, but then I was also a gamer, and I'd be able to like segment those two things and be like, there's a time when I'm on my computer or my video game console, and there's a time when I'm outside playing basketball, playing tag, playing, whatever sport, whatever we wanted to do outside, running around and just being active. And I feel like if it's a scale, like it's tilting more towards the isolated being online and just being on your device indoors versus like being outdoors and socializing and being active with other people. Not to say that it's the entire generation, but I feel like it's skewing that way. So yes, that these numbers make sense when you account for those kind of behavioral shifts. And I do think that it'll start tipping back the other way. I think that the wellness side of it will probably maintain, like less drinking in general, but we're seeing behaviors of younger adults actually like reverting to removing some of their connectedness or being online. Like they like phones that are like flip phones or like older technology. Even with cameras, like they'll buy like a little handheld camera, point and shoot, that they don't have to pull out their phones to take a photo with, and they like that whole vintage thing. So like they're yearning for some of that too. I guess that there is kind of like they're in this in between where they're digitally native because they were born into it, but then they're trying to like yearn for some of that alternate upbringing that we had and previous generations had.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I you know, if I grew up in that generation, I can't say that I wouldn't be the same. I can't say that I wouldn't have been completely attached to my phone, because I have moments that I'm like, hey, yo, you got to get off the phone, dog. Like, you got to, you got to get out. You got to go do something. I mean, it sucks for us because we're literally, that's our job.
Yeah.
But it's there are times that I'm just like, yo, stop scrolling, get out, go on a walk or whatever the case may be. So I can't blame them. I can't say that I would have done something different, because I don't know if I would have. But it's definitely, like you said, it definitely has to be skewing the behavioral part of it for sure.
Yeah. So the bottom line here was that Gen Z associates alcohol with, less sleep, anxiety, and you got to recover because of hangover. So they're like, that's not ideal. And then, in general, that you have a little bit less brain fog. You're more clear in the head when it comes to not drinking. And then just drinking less in general seems being framed as a positive lifestyle choice, no longer like, oh, well, you're not cool. Like, everyone's doing it. So why aren't you doing it? It's like, actually, everyone's doing it less. So you doing it less is actually falling in line with the social behaviors and being, part of the in culture at this point. So I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add here before I jump into the predictions.
I'm good.
So I put these
excited
together.
To see your predictions, man.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't put hard numbers on some of them. Maybe I can, go to it in more detail, but we'll start with AI and tech in general. We saw last year that there was just a ramp up in terms of visual generative, models just stepping up the game when it comes to photos. And even like, I think Gemini, the Nano Banana Pro one towards the end of the year was like kind of eye-opening and how realistic some of those things come out. On the video side, it's getting better. I just don't think it's there yet. There's still things that kind of give it away. But I think this is the year that you're going to start seeing like nearly indiscernible video content, especially from people that are pros in the space and know how to use these tools. If they have a background in VFX, if they know how to like what to look for to make something look real, they now have this superpower to do it with an AI assisted tool or with like AI as part of their process. And they'll be able to also separate, because there's also novices entering the space every day and using it, and they're putting out what people are calling AI slop, the obvious stuff that looks just like janky and looks bad. And you try and do it so that people, like they think that no one's going to be able to spot it, when it's like humans are, pattern recognition machines. Like the second that we start catching on to things and they look a certain way, we're like, yeah, that's not right. That one has a 6 finger. There's a sign in the background that looks off. The sad part is that you're going to see like deep fakes become more and more of a thing. The other day I was on my phone and I saw a video come up and it looked like someone kind of giving a TED talk. And for the first few seconds, I was like looking at it and like, oh, this looks like legit. And then I look closer and then I look in the background and I realize as he moves, it doesn't even say TED, it says text. And then there's like off. And then at the end, he looks at the camera and says something like a marketing thing. And I was like, oh man, I'm like, if this got me for a second, imagine the people that are like less privy to it and less what's going on. So as a result of that, I foresee also AI regulation and transparency becoming more of a thing. at the governmental level, at the platform level, and even some of these other companies like Adobe. When it comes to authentication and detection, I think you're going to see that become more and more prominent, like having to label these things, having to like have tools that could like identify if something is AI, just because it is happening so rapidly that people are just it's too much for them to really like grasp and adapt to it. So I think there's going to be some sort of assistance that needs to happen from the greater structures and the greater overseeing bodies to help people kind of be like, hey, this has AI in it. Not to say like, hey, it's all fake, but this, AI was used in portions of this, or this is, I labeled as is. And then of two last points here on the AI front, AI audio, when it comes to music, when it comes to sound effects and just like background tracks, I've been using one called Suno, and it's really effective. And when you start using it, it becomes more and more. I think the one thing that gives away some of these videos is the audio is off, right? Like everyone's talking in like a vacuum, like there's no spatial awareness. There's no spatial audio in it. Like you're just hearing people talk, but there's no like street sounds and ambient sounds. So like, I think that side to it is going to become more prominent, and just like kind of making it more of an immersive experience, meaning that you could have something that you shot, you edited, and you did everything, and you could layer in the audio side of it and be like, damn, I really want like something that sounds like we're in a jungle. And instead of having stock footage and stock audio, like you can find this or create this with AI assistance. So that's going to be a big thing. And then from the tech side, I see like virtual try-on and 3D models that you can analyze and see firsthand. Like the frames that I'm wearing right now, I never stepped into a store and bought them. I literally pulled up the Warby Parker app. And I did the virtual try-on, and I did like this. I looked side to side, and I'm like, that looks good to me. And I purchased a few frames as a result of that technique. And I'm seeing it happen on Amazon for certain products.
Shopify too. They've been coming out with that shit.
Shopify is doing. So I think in 2026, we're going to see that become more and more prominently used. I think it's a powerful tool when people can't go into a store. It's not available at a local storefront. I think that's going to become more and more of a thing that you see online. So yeah, virtual is the way to go for some people. And I think you're going to see that more prominently seen in the market. From digital media and marketing, I see like the explosion of the creator and community economy. Like we already heard about this last year, but I think like this year is like the coming out party even more. And I added the community side to it because it's not just like individuals. It's like people who have a run club, or they have their own group that they meet up on whatever cadence it is. And I think that that's going to be more important, because if you want to tap into certain groups and certain cultures, like you're going to have to work with and collab with. That's why collab culture is going to be big as well.
I think, can I piggyback? You guys love that word. Can I piggyback on that? I think brands as well, right? When specifically when I mean brands, even B2B brands, right? So it was funny because I just came from a lunch with a brand that focuses on some of the things that we don't focus on here at Cultura, and we talked about Pink Grove, the ladies at Pink Grove, Diana and Fern, and we were talking about that specifically because we were talking about, how do we tap into our networks to be able to bring in brands that we can tackle together as a group on things that we don't necessarily focus on. And I think as a B2B brand, that you're not void of that. Like that is something that you can do as well, and tapping into different networks, tapping into different cultures on that side as well, I think is very important for brands here moving forward. So I think that is not just necessarily on a B2C side, that's also a B2B side, and the people that embrace that, we always have here at Cultura, but the people that embrace that truly and are really focused on that, I agree with you. That's going to be a huge trend here in 2026.
Yeah, and I think it's why you've seen like the gathering side of it. Like you've been seeing like these supper clubs, and you've been seeing the run clubs, and you're seeing other places to gather, even if it's not like a physical third space. It's like it might be a rotating kind of thing where like we're gonna have dinner here at someone's house or at this restaurant, or we're gonna do a run club at this place this time, and next month it'll be a different place. So you get to experience different places. Like with Creative Mornings, that's one of the big things we like doing, is going to different venues, highlighting different speakers, and making sure that there is that kind of like freshness to the fact that it's not just one space and one person every time, and you're just kind of like consuming the same thing. It's this evolving thing. That's the natural evolution and the natural organic side to any community, is seeing like the different layers and the different things that are happening. So I think that we're going to see a lot more of the creator and community economy explode, and collaborations. Like we just did one that was a massive shout out to Legends of Dade, and putting together, the spotlight on people like Carlos Arroyo and his ties to not only FIU and the Miami Heat, but Puerto Rico and like the big Puerto Rican kind of community and Hispanic community we have in South Florida. And we collaborated with Carlos Arroyo himself. We collaborated with FIU Hoops, and that post has been, doing numbers. We even got people like Nicky Jam and other like professional athletes chiming in and commenting on it. And it's crazy how like it's the power of the community that made that happen. Like I think that if we would have just posted on our own, sure, it would have gotten some traction. But the fact that people are more open to doing the collab feature and sharing it with their audience and like kind of like opening the aperture to new audiences is like a huge thing that we're going to see leverage more and more. And I think it's an important part. And then the last thing here is the whole raw content, right? Like the more real you can get, the more like BTS and showing like how Apple showed how they made that intro scene last year. And that gave it more like, I don't know, it made it feel more real. It made it feel like, damn, they did that by hand to an extent. And there's things like this, the live feature, the unfiltered conversations. I think those things are going to be more and more sought after because there's so much curation happening, and rightfully so. But people are still seeking out these real conversations and the authenticity of it. So that's my take on the digital side. I don't know if you have anything before I jump forward.
On the raw stuff, people don't want the bullshit anymore. We went through an era of very scripted, very detailed, kind of manipulative marketing, whereas people want the opposite now. People want raw, even if it is shot in a high, with great clarity, even if it's shot with a good camera, like, but people are cutting through the bullshit. Like people know, like, oh, that was 100% scripted. So I think as a creator, either a content creator or like a photographer, videographer, DP, whatever, like focusing on the storytelling and the raw, organic, like natural kind of story that you could pull out of that owner or that brand or whatever the case may be. That's huge. We've seen some stuff that we've done this week and the last month, a couple months, with the new brands that we brought on, and some of the videos that we've been curating. And I think that at the forefront, it's that. It just, again, even if it's shot incredibly well with a high end camera, it's the storytelling. It's to be able to capture that rawness. That's really an art and a talent. So I agree with you.
For sure. And kind of the CPG trends, and we talked about some of this earlier, but like diving even deeper, like we saw some brands doing this already, like personalization and custom formulations for individuals. So it's like, that you have high blood pressure, that you have X, Y, or Z when it comes to your nutrition and health. And brands and the manufacturing side of it is going to become more and more easy to implement a custom tailored product, a custom tailored version of that product for yourself, so that it's not just like a one size fits all for everyone. And we've already seen it in skincare. There's brands like Proven and Function of Beauty. You go to their website and then they'll tell you, like, what are you looking for? They're like, do you have acne? Do you have, are you looking for, sunscreen or like something to like protect you from UV rays, or are you trying to protect yourself from pollution because you live in the city? Like all these things that can kind of function based on your geography, your background, and your kind of like your makeup, your biological makeup is all going to play into it. And the rise of alternate form factors. We're dealing with gummies and we're seeing it. I think we're seeing it in the fiber space. We're seeing it in creatine now. Where else are we going to see it? We're going to see it in more and more, different products and different supplements. So I think it's interesting, as well as like dissolvable strips. That's also going to be something else that we might see become more prominent. And then functional beverages, right? Like I've seen a lot of this now, the whole water plus, meaning like it's water plus electrolytes, water plus probiotics or prebiotics. Like the fact that like you have to drink water because hydration is table stakes. So what else can you add into it that you might, all right, now I don't got to take this, or I don't have to drink some of that. I can do it all in one. So you're probably going to see more of that happen, even outside of water. I just gave that example because it's something that I've noticed, and I'm seeing like Propel, right? It's one of those brands that you see using that whole water plus kind of approach. And then the last thing here, consumer behaviors, right? Like millennials, we're that generation that started seeking out experiences more than ever. I think 2026 is going to be another explosion of experiences, whether that's travel or going to a venue to see a show or some sort of immersive experience that can happen. I think that we're going to see that happen more and more, and it's going to be more prominent because millennials are becoming that next in line to take over, businesses and market share when it comes to what baby boomers had. Like they're retiring, they're getting to the point where someone else has to step up into that role, into buying out the business. So I see that becoming more prominent, that like experiences will take even more of a front stage, and material goods will always be there, but I think like it's becoming less prominent of like needing those material goods, and people just wanting to have that memorable thing that cannot be replicated by anything else. And then the last part, on the other end, the bottom end of the spectrum, we were talking about younger generations, Gen Z, kind of like leaning into less technology, essentially, like the always online thing, that they're on their phone so much, like they are going to hit an inflection point where like, damn, I do got to take a break. Like everyone has a point, and they're going to see it amongst their friend groups. And you're seeing it with like kind of like getting dumb phones and getting like the things that are just have less technology embedded. And I think you're going to see more digital detoxes. I think that we saw back in the day, you would go on AOL Instant Messenger and you could have an away message. And I feel like some of these platforms like Instagram are going to do a built-in feature where it's going to show like this person is away right now. Like this person is offline right now. I think that we're going to see some of that pop up. I don't know if it's going to happen in 2026, but that would be like my bold prediction, is that we're going to see the advent of away messages and, stepping away and having like a pause on being online, at least for a week or two, a month for some people. I think that that's going to become something that we see happen in this year. So that was kind of my rundown. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to, or any predictions that you felt were worth adding here.
Just 2 points. One, the rise of the alternate form factors of taking in supplementation. That is definitely, you're on point there. That is definitely something to look out for this year. A lot of, again, I'm privy kind of to the back end of this. A lot of gummy manufacturers right now are working hard in trying to limit the amount of gummies that is needed to get in that daily value of that product, or whatever the case may be. So that's something to look into. Strips, gums as well. So last year, or I think it's been around, but the gum that it has a caffeine and L-theanine. It's for focus. Neurogum. Thank you. That came out as a great product. So I see kind of the extension of those type of products. So that is a great point, and it's definitely something to look out for this year. And then when you talk about millennials and you talk about the experience part of things, I couldn't agree with you more. I think you're seeing it with the rise right now of the third space again, and these kind of like you said, supper clubs, or these kind of guy clubs, or whatever the case may be, whatever your kind of format is. There's definitely a rise in that, and I think we're going to continue to see that. We're going to continue to see local. There was a big push years ago for shop local. I think there's going to be a big push now for like experience local, right? Smaller little like cinemas. There's actually a place in not Palm Harbor, in Safety Harbor, around where I live, at their restaurant, but they have in the back, they have a cinema, so you can dine in. You can say it's old movies, but they show movies, whatever, and they have like movie nights. It's a great concept. So it's almost like speakeasy type deal, but then they show movies and whatnot. So you're definitely going to see a rise in that. And again, I think like with the combination of the digital detox, you'll definitely see 2026 that take off. So you couldn't be more on point with those predictions.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it plays out. Now, obviously, there's going to be something that we missed here that is going to be like game changer that we didn't foresee happening, and that's like the beauty of every year. You never know what's the main thing. Like you can have these ideas of what's going to happen based on past, but like there's probably innovations or other things that could happen that really like uh, become the most prominent thing, at least for a segment of the year. So if nobody else has any like comments or questions they want to chime in on, I want to kind of like open the floor, and I wanted to start. I'm gonna treat this kind of like my design corner, where I found this kind of fascinating. The Washington Commanders, they released the rendering of their new stadium that they're constructing. It should be open by 2030, I believe. And the thing that I found the most fascinating about this is that if you know Washington, D.C., and the way it's kind of built out and the monuments, like there's always clear sight lines between the monuments, and there's not a lot of tall buildings as a result of that. Like they don't want to mess with those sight lines. They don't want to mess with how you're able to kind of experience this stuff. And so like here's how it would look at night, which is kind of awesome. You have this road that kind of like leads up into it, and you could still see the Capitol in the back, and just it's amazing that they built it this way. And they kind of built that concave, I believe it's called, kind of dipped in version, so you could have that sight line. It's not like you go to Marlins Park and you see like this big thing that kind of sticks out, and it's fine because like that's a portion of a city that's constantly changing. It's not like something that has as much history as like Washington, D.C. So I felt that this was well done. And then the one key thing that I really wanted to point out that I found really interesting is you could tell that these pillars that they put on the edge is supposed to mimic kind of like that Greco-Roman column style without it being that. So it's like an homage to it while still being modern and being like updated, but it's kind of like giving that respect to the other structures that have been there forever, and it has a timeless feel to it. So I think that that's like a huge thing. Context is so important when it comes to designing something like a building, like a stadium in a city. And then the last point is that it's not that they just did those columns as just an aesthetic thing that really serves no purpose. Like those columns are actually like structurally important. So it has form and function, and it pays respect. It's an amazing way to kind of wrap it all together. So it has that modern feel to it while still feeling like it has elements of the past and ties into the city. And so to me, it's always important to take into context, like design with purpose. Don't do things that just because they look cool or because you want to have like an aesthetic kind of feel that is, you're just trying to make it a certain theme. Like if you can actually have it have meaning, have function, and integrate it in a way that actually serves a purpose, like that's like the ultimate thing. So I think they hit a home run with this design, and I wanted to kind of like highlight it.
Yeah, no, I love it. I don't have a lot to riff on the creative side, but I do love well thought out architecture, and I do love architecture that fits within the landscape. I'm a big proponent of that. So yeah, this it oddly reminds me of like the original renderings of Epcot, because like you have the little community, you got the buildings on the side. So it's awesome. And it is a beautiful stadium, A, and then B, like I said, with the sight lines and kind of the way that they're building it, that's really cool. So
yeah, and I think that kind of wrap up here, really it doesn't go without saying that the health trend that we've seen over the last few years, like I think it's going to be mainstream this year. We're going to be involved with some brands that are in the space as well. And so we're going to get a firsthand approach to how the market reacts to these things, and what people are buying when it comes to health, nutrition, and wellness in general. And again, thanks for everyone for tuning in. I think that we're going to look forward to doing more of these themes depending on the time of the year. This year we're definitely going to start bringing on guests, so we're going to have more guests coming up, and we'll kind of like integrate some of the new features into the show that way. so that we could kind of bring on subject matter experts, people that are like experts in their space, to talk about what they're up to, and you know, get their opinion on things, because like we're just two guys and an agency behind us, but we're always respectful of other people in the space and what they bring to the table. So JC, I don't know if you have anything else to wrap up here with.
Yeah, no, just that you know, we're obviously we're experts, or whatever. We're entrenched in our industry, if you will, and yes, that tends to have tentacles in other industries, right? Like the health industry, which obviously we're in tune with. You on the food and bev side of things, restaurant side of things, you're very in tune with that, D2C stuff like that. But yeah, it's really having, one of the things that we do want to have is have experts in their respective industries, either on the brand side or you know, on the clinical side, what be it, to come on and bounce things off of, hear their perspective of the trends and what's going on the industry. Always, obviously, like we like to have it with the lens of marketing and conversion, and how that at the end of the day moves the needle, and at the end of the day converts, because that's what we're all about as an agency. But yeah, we're having a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun. Like I said, it was obvious in this episode how much I love this industry in specific. It's something that I hold near and dear. I love health. I love everything that has to do with the nutraceutical wellness health industry. And our next episode will be more focused on the physical aspects of the health, right? So like gyms, wellness centers, at the onset of those type of things, strength training, you know, personal training, all that type of stuff. We'll dive more into that. We really wanted to hit kind of the supplementation, the functional foods, and more of the kind of the health aspect of things on this episode. So yeah, excited for 2026 as an agency. We got a lot of things going on. We're excited at where we're at, and I'm excited to have this podcast. I always say it's really an excuse for us to come on and talk shit with each other, like we would normally do through Instagram and through text message. Yeah. And you know, we obviously as a business, this is an excuse for us to be able to put our knowledge out there and build some equity with future clients or whatever, you know, authority is what people call it. So obviously, on a selfish end, that's what we like to do. But at the forefront of everything that we like to do, and this is what we always tell brands, is always what we always tell content creators: you got to love it. You got to feel excited to do it. And today I was rushing. I had a meeting for lunch, whatever, but I rushed over here because I was super excited to get on this pod with you and talk shit and go through these things. So at the end of the day, you got to love it. So again, excited for what we got going on. And as always, man, thank you for jumping on. I appreciate it. And thank you everybody for jumping on. A lot of exciting things happening at Cultura in general. And before I get off, all right, our Canes are in the national championship for the first time in, I think it was 24 or 26 years. I forgot but first time in that many years. We're excited. It is amazing. A lot of people don't realize that Canes actually have a lot of fans, a lot of diehard fans. It's a really good fan base, actually, although we get a lot of shit. But you know, I'm super excited for the Canes to be on Monday in the national championship. Excited at everything that Cristobal has done, and I just wanted to kind of leave on that. So you.
For sure. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're not following us on Instagram, you can follow us at Cultura Creative Co. And then follow Cultura Talks, this channel you're watching it on. I know a lot of people might catch it on their feeds, but not really follow. So tune in and stay tuned for our next announcement, and then we'll see you on the next one. Peace.